Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery and watched the stars drift by through the main viewer. His ship was 3 months into a routine mission to map new worlds in the outer edge of known space. The work was boring but important. Humanity needed new places to live and grow as their population kept expanding across the galaxy. Jake had been a starship captain for 15 years. He loved the quiet moments between star systems when his crew could relax and the ship ran itself. His team was good at their jobs and rarely needed his direct input. Chief Science Officer Lisa Martinez was studying mineral samples from their last planet survey. Security Chief Ryan Blake was running training drills with his small security team. Communications Officer Amy Stevens monitored the radio waves for any signs of other ships or distress calls. Engineer Carlos Rodriguez kept the engines running smooth and fast. The Discovery was not a warship. It carried only basic defensive weapons and a crew of just 40 people. Earth had been part of the Galactic Confederation for 30 years now, and there was peace among all the member worlds. Humans were known as good traders and excellent engineers. They built things that lasted and never started fights with other species. The galaxy was a safe place for peaceful exploration. Jake walked over to Amy Stevens at her communication station. She was a young officer with bright eyes and quick fingers that danced across her control panels. Amy had joined his crew 2 years ago, straight from the academy on Earth. She was eager to prove herself and always did her job well. "Any interesting signals today, Amy?" Jake asked as he looked over her shoulder at the displays showing radio frequencies from nearby space. "Nothing unusual, Captain," Amy replied without looking up from her work. "Just the normal background noise from distant stars and some old satellite broadcasts from the inner systems." Jake nodded and was about to walk away when Amy suddenly sat up straight. Her fingers moved quickly across her controls as she fine-tuned her equipment. A frown appeared on her young face. "Wait, Captain," Amy said with excitement in her voice. "I am picking up something strange. It is very faint, but it looks like a distress signal." Jake moved closer to her station. "Can you clean it up and make it clearer?" Amy worked her controls for several minutes while Jake watched. Slowly, the static cleared, and they could hear a human voice speaking through the ship's speakers. The voice was full of fear and desperation. "This is the colony ship New Hope calling any human vessels," the voice said through the static. "We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. They came without warning and started bombing our cities from orbit. Thousands are dead. The children. Oh God, the children." The signal faded for a moment, then came back stronger. "The Council lied to us. They lied to all of humanity. This was planned. They want us all dead. Someone has to warn Earth. Someone has to tell them the truth about what the Confederation really is." The signal cut to static, and then went silent. Amy tried to bring it back, but found only empty space noise. Jake stood frozen as he processed what they had just heard. The New Hope was not a ship he recognized from any official records. There were no human colonies in this region of space according to all the star charts. "Amy, can you trace where that signal came from?" Jake asked in a quiet voice. "Yes, Captain," Amy replied as she worked her controls. "The signal originated from a star system about 6 light-years from our current position. It is not on any of our navigation charts." Jake felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. If there was a human colony under attack, then his duty was clear. He had to help them. But if the colony was not on any official charts, then it might be a secret settlement. Earth government did not approve of unauthorized colonies because they were dangerous and expensive to support. Chief Science Officer Lisa Martinez had heard the distress call from her station across the bridge. She walked over to join Jake and Amy at the communication station. Lisa was a tall woman with dark hair and serious eyes. She had been exploring space for 20 years and had seen many strange things. "Captain, that signal was definitely human," Lisa said. "The voice patterns and language structure match Earth standard perfectly. But I have never heard of the New Hope in any colony ship databases." Security Chief Ryan Blake also approached the group. Ryan was a big man with strong arms and a careful way of speaking. He had served in Earth's defense forces before joining exploration missions. Ryan always thought about potential dangers and threats. "If there is a human colony under attack, we have to help them," Ryan said. "That is our duty as Earth citizens and Confederation members." Jake looked at his senior officers and felt the weight of command on his shoulders. The Discovery was just an exploration ship with light weapons and a small crew. If there really was an attack happening, they might not be able to help much. But they were the only human ship in this region of space. "Amy, send a message to Earth Command and report what we heard," Jake ordered. "Tell them we are investigating a possible distress call from an unknown human colony. Captain, it will take 3 weeks for any message to reach Earth from our current position," Amy replied. "And another 3 weeks for any response to come back to us." Jake nodded. Standard space communication was slow across such vast distances. Whatever was happening to the New Hope colony would be over long before Earth could send help. The Discovery was on its own. Engineer Carlos Rodriguez joined the group on the bridge. Carlos was a smart man who understood how all the ship's systems worked. He could fix almost anything and always found creative solutions to technical problems. "Captain, I heard the distress call," Carlos said. "If we change course now, we can reach that star system in 18 hours at maximum speed, but it will use a lot of fuel and put stress on our engines." Jake thought carefully about his options. His orders were to continue mapping missions in this sector for another 2 months. If he changed course without proper authorization, he could face serious discipline from Earth Command. But if there were humans dying somewhere and he did nothing to help, then he would never forgive himself. "Lisa, what do you think?" Jake asked his science officer. "Could this be some kind of trap or enemy deception?" Lisa considered the question seriously before answering. The voice sounded genuinely terrified, "Captain. Fear is very difficult to fake convincingly. And why would anyone want to lure a single exploration ship into a trap? We are not valuable enough as a target." Ryan Blake crossed his arms and looked out at the stars. "Captain, I have a bad feeling about this. Something does not add up. How did a human colony ship get to an unmapped star system? And who would attack them?" Jake made his decision. "Amy, set course for the source of that distress signal. Carlos, prepare the engines for maximum speed. Lisa, start long-range scans of that star system and see what you can detect from here." "Aye, Captain." All 3 officers replied and moved quickly to their stations. As the Discovery changed course and accelerated toward the unknown star system, Jake felt a mixture of excitement and dread. In 30 years of peace between human and alien civilizations, there had never been reports of attacks on civilian colonies. The Galactic Confederation maintained order and protected all member species from threats. But the fear in that unknown colonist's voice had sounded very real, and his words about the Council lying to humanity kept echoing in Jake's mind. What truth was the New Hope colony supposed to warn Earth about? And why was there a human settlement in space that did not officially exist? Jake looked out at the stars and wondered what they would find when they reached their destination. Whatever it was, he had the feeling that his quiet exploration mission was about to become something much more dangerous and important. The Discovery dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the unknown star system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and stared at the main viewer in horror. Where there should have been a living world with cities and farms, there was only a ball of blackened rock glowing with radioactive fire. "My God," whispered Chief Science Officer Lisa Martinez as she studied her sensor readings. "The entire planet has been sterilized. Nothing could survive down there." Communications Officer Amy Stevens worked frantically at her station trying to find any signs of life. Her young face was pale with shock as she searched through the radio frequencies. "I am detecting no communications from the surface, no distress beacons, no emergency transmissions, nothing." Security Chief Ryan Blake studied the tactical displays showing debris floating in orbit around the dead world. Pieces of metal and plastic drifted in slow circles like a graveyard of broken dreams. Captain, those debris fields contain fragments of civilian spacecraft, shuttles, transport ships, even escape pods. Jake felt sick to his stomach as he processed what they were seeing. This had been a human colony with families and children. Now it was nothing but ash and radiation. Someone had deliberately murdered an entire world. Lisa, can you determine what kind of weapons did this? Jake asked quietly. Lisa worked her science station controls and ran detailed scans of the ruined planet below. Her face grew more troubled as the data came in. Captain, the blast patterns are consistent with orbital bombardment using plasma cannons and nuclear missiles, but the energy signatures match Confederation military technology. A cold silence fell over the bridge. Every person there understood what Lisa had just said. The weapons that destroyed this human colony belonged to their supposed allies in the Galactic Confederation. Engineer Carlos Rodriguez spoke up from his station. Captain, I am detecting artificial structures in the outer system. Looks like mining. Platforms and deep space habitats. They are damaged, but still intact. Jake made a quick decision. Ryan, take a security team and investigate those structures. Look for survivors or any information about what happened here. Amy, keep scanning for any emergency transmissions or automated distress beacons. 2 hours later, Ryan Blake returned to the Discovery with grim news. He had found no living survivors, but he had discovered something almost as valuable: hidden data storage devices left behind by the colonists before they died. Captain, the colonists knew they were going to be attacked, Ryan reported as he stood before Jake in the ship's briefing room. They had enough warning to hide information caches throughout their outer system facilities. The data tells an incredible story. Lisa Martinez worked to decrypt the recovered files while the senior officers gathered around her computer terminal. What they found made Jake question everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. The data revealed that New Geneva had been a thriving colony of 2 million people. They had been there for 15 years, growing food and mining rare metals. But they had also been developing new technology that made them less dependent on Confederation trade networks. Look at this, Lisa said as she pulled up technical diagrams on her screen. They had developed improved faster-than-light engines that were 50% more efficient than current Confederation designs. They were also working on new weapons and defensive systems. More disturbing information emerged as they continued, reading through the files. New Geneva was not the first human colony to disappear mysteriously. The data included reports of 11 other settlements that had simply vanished over the past 10 years. Earth Command had been told these were failed colonies that died from disease or equipment failure. This document shows communications between the colony and someone on Earth, Amy said, as she highlighted text on the screen. They were trying to warn our government about what they had discovered, but their messages were being blocked by Confederation communication relays. The most shocking revelation came when Ryan found military intelligence files that the colonists had stolen from Confederation sources. These files contained detailed plans for something called the Human Management Protocol. Jake read the document aloud to his officers. Phase 1, maintain illusion of equal partnership while monitoring human technological development. Phase 2, eliminate any human settlements that achieve strategic independence. Phase 3, initiate systematic population reduction when human expansion threatens Confederation control. The room fell silent as the full meaning of those words sank in. Humanity was not a member of the Galactic Confederation. They were prisoners being slowly prepared for execution. Lisa found more evidence in the form of biological weapon samples that the colonists had recovered from previous attack sites. These weapons are specifically designed to target human DNA. They would be lethal to us but harmless to other species. How many people knew about this? Jake asked as he tried to process the scope of the conspiracy. According to these files, only the outer colonies discovered the truth, Ryan replied. Earth government appears to be completely unaware. The Confederation has been feeding them false reports for years. Amy Stevens looked up from her communication station with tears in her eyes. Captain, I found something else. Personal messages from the colonists to their families on Earth. They knew they were going to die, but they wanted to leave behind the truth for someone to find. Jake listened to recording after recording of ordinary people saying goodbye to loved ones they would never see again. Farmers and engineers and teachers who had come to the stars looking for a better life. Now they were dead because they had learned too much about their real situation. We have to get this information back to Earth, Jake said firmly. Humanity has to know what the Confederation really plans for us. Captain, if we return to Confederation space with this evidence, they will never let us reach Earth alive, Ryan warned. We know too much now. Lisa pulled up star charts showing their current position and the route back to human territory. The nearest human outpost is 3 weeks away at maximum speed, but we would have to pass through 6 different Confederation checkpoints to get there. Jake studied the navigation data and realized Ryan was right. The moment they entered monitored space, they would be marked as threats and eliminated. But they could not just hide in this empty system forever. Amy, can we broadcast this information on emergency channels back toward Earth? Jake asked. I can try, Captain, but the signal would have to be very powerful to reach across such a distance. And the Confederation monitors all deep space communications. They would detect our transmission and trace it back to us. Carlos Rodriguez had been quietly listening to the discussion while running calculations on his engineering station. Captain, I have an idea. What if we do not try to hide from them? What if we broadcast everything on all frequencies while moving toward Earth at maximum speed? Explain, Jake said. If we transmit continuously on every communication channel, the information will spread faster than they can stop it. Even if they destroy us, the data will keep moving toward human space. Someone will receive it and pass it on. Lisa nodded as she understood the plan. A message cascade. Each human ship or station that receives the data forwards it to others. Even if the Confederation intercepts most of our transmissions, some will get through. Ryan looked troubled by the suggestion. That plan requires us to sacrifice ourselves. Once we start broadcasting, they will send everything they have to stop us. Jake thought about the dead world below them and the 2 million people who had died trying to warn humanity about the truth. He thought about his duty as a starship captain and his responsibility to protect human lives. Amy, prepare a full data package containing everything we have discovered, Jake ordered. Include the attack evidence, the biological weapon samples, and all the colonist testimonies. Carlos, plot a course for Earth at maximum sustainable speed. Captain, are you sure about this? Lisa asked quietly. Jake looked at his senior officers and saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They understood what had to be done, even if it meant their own deaths. The people of New Geneva died trying to get this information to Earth. We are going to finish what they started. As the Discovery prepared to leave the dead system behind, Jake took one last look at the ruins of what had once been a human world. Soon, every person on Earth would know the truth about their situation in the galaxy. The age of peaceful cooperation with alien civilizations was about to end forever. The Discovery raced through space toward Earth, broadcasting its terrible message on every frequency Amy Stevens could access. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge watching the communication displays as their signal spread across the galaxy, like ripples in a pond. Behind them, Confederation ships were gathering, but they were still several days away from intercept range. Captain, I am receiving acknowledgement signals from 17 different human outposts and merchant ships, Amy reported from her station. They are confirming receipt of our data transmission and forwarding it to other vessels. Jake felt a grim satisfaction knowing their sacrifice would not be wasted. Even if the Confederation destroyed the Discovery, the truth about New Geneva would continue spreading until it reached Earth. But he also worried about how humanity would react to learning they had been marked for extinction. On Earth, Admiral Patricia Lee sat in her office at Defense Command headquarters, reading the most disturbing intelligence report she had seen in 30 years of military service. The data from the discovery seemed impossible to believe. Surely the peaceful Confederation would not plan genocide against 2 billion humans. "Ma'am, we have confirmed the authenticity of the biological weapon samples," reported Dr. Nathan Cole as he entered her office. Nathan was Earth's leading expert on alien biology and had spent years studying Confederation science. "These compounds are specifically designed to target human genetic markers. There is no other possible use for such weapons." Patricia felt her blood turn cold as the reality of their situation became clear. How long would it take them to deploy these weapons against Earth? If they already have stockpiles in position, they could sterilize our entire planet within hours, Nathan replied grimly. "The toxins are designed to spread through our atmosphere and contaminate our water supply. Nothing would survive." Meanwhile, in the outer solar system, Confederation patrol ships were taking positions around Jupiter and Saturn. Their commanders had orders to prevent any unauthorized vessels from reaching Earth, while the Council of Five decided how to respond to the security breach. Admiral Patricia Lee called an emergency meeting with President Helen Garcia and the Earth Defense Council. The room was filled with military officers and government officials who had spent decades believing humanity was safe under Confederation protection. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing the greatest threat in human history," Patricia announced as she activated the main display screen. "The evidence from Captain Morrison's ship proves that our supposed allies have been planning our extermination for years." President Garcia studied the data with growing horror. Helen had been a diplomat before becoming president and had always believed in peaceful cooperation between species. "Are we certain this information is accurate? Could this be some kind of enemy deception?" "Ma'am, I have analyzed every piece of evidence personally," Dr. Nathan Cole replied. "The genetic targeting in these biological weapons is too sophisticated to be faked. This represents decades of research into human biology. Only the Confederation has that level of scientific knowledge about our species." General Alex Turner spoke up from his seat at the table. Alex commanded Earth's small defensive fleet and had always worried that humanity was too dependent on alien protection. "Admiral Lee, what is our current military readiness level?" "Officially, we have 48 warships and about 30,000 trained military personnel," Patricia answered. "But those numbers assume we would be fighting pirates or rebels, not the entire Confederation fleet." The room fell silent as everyone processed the impossible odds they faced. Earth's tiny military force could not possibly defend against thousands of alien warships backed by advanced technology and superior numbers. However, Patricia continued with a slight smile, "those official numbers do not tell the complete story. For the past 50 years, we have been preparing for exactly this scenario under something called the Omega Protocol." President Garcia looked confused. "I have never heard of any Omega Protocol." Patricia activated new displays showing hidden military installations throughout the solar system. "Ma'am, every civilian facility in human space has a secondary military purpose. Our mining stations can be converted to weapons factories within days. Our merchant fleet can be armed and turned into warships. Our entire economy is designed to support total war if necessary." General Turner leaned forward with interest. "How many ships could we actually field in combat?" "Within 6 months, we could have over 2,000 armed vessels ready for battle," Patricia replied. "They would not be as sophisticated as Confederation warships, but they would have human crews who understand that failure means extinction." Dr. Nathan Cole pulled up biological research data on his portable computer. "Admiral, I have been studying Confederation physiology for years. Most of their species evolved on low-gravity worlds with limited oxygen. They are physically weak compared to humans and cannot survive in the environments where we thrive." "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" President Garcia asked. I am suggesting that we have natural advantages they cannot match, Nathan explained. Humans can fight in conditions that would kill most aliens. We heal faster from injuries. We adapt to new situations more quickly. And most importantly, we are the only species that seems capable of true innovation under pressure. Admiral Patricia. Lee stood and walked to the window overlooking Earth's blue oceans and green continents. Ladies and gentlemen, the Confederation made one critical mistake. They tried to eliminate us slowly instead of striking immediately. Now we know what they are planning, and we have time to prepare. Over the following weeks, Earth transformed with frightening speed. Civilian factories began producing weapons and armor instead of consumer goods. Merchant spacers volunteered for military training programs. Hidden bunkers opened across every continent, revealing stockpiles of equipment that had been secretly prepared for decades. Captain Susan Hayes commanded one of the first attack squadrons to launch from Earth's hidden military shipyards. Her ships were fast and heavily armed with weapons designed specifically for fighting Confederation forces. Unlike alien vessels built for controlling territory, human warships had only one purpose: destroying enemies. "All ships, this is Hayes," Susan broadcast to her squadron as they prepared to depart Earth orbit. "Our mission is to hit Confederation supply lines in the Centauri sector. We are not trying to capture anything or hold ground. We destroy their ships and bases, then we disappear before they can respond." The first human attack caught the Confederation completely by surprise. Susan's squadron appeared without warning and destroyed 3 supply convoys before vanishing back into deep space. Unlike previous conflicts where aliens fought for territorial control or resource acquisition, humans fought for survival and showed no mercy to their enemies. On Earth, Dr. Nathan Cole worked frantically to develop countermeasures for the biological weapons that threatened human extinction. His research teams had discovered something remarkable about human genetics that the Confederation scientists had missed. "Admiral Lee, you need to see this," Nathan called out as Patricia visited his laboratory. "We have found a way to not only defend against their biological weapons, but to turn them against our enemies." "Explain, Doctor," Patricia ordered as she studied the complex genetic diagrams on his computer screens. "Human DNA has natural resistance factors that evolved during our violent history on Earth," Nathan explained excitedly. "We can enhance these factors to make us completely immune to their toxins. But more importantly, we can modify their weapons to target alien genetics instead." Patricia realized what Nathan was suggesting. "You want to create biological weapons that would kill them, but leave humans unharmed." "It would be poetic justice, Admiral," Nathan replied with a cold smile. "They plan to use biology to exterminate us. Instead, we will use it to exterminate them." Back in space, Captain Morrison continued his desperate race toward Earth even as Confederation ships closed in from all directions. His crew knew they would probably not survive, but they had already accomplished their mission. The truth about New Geneva was spreading faster than their enemies could contain it. "Captain, we are receiving a message from Earth Defense Command," Amy Stevens reported from her communication station. "They are acknowledging receipt of all our data and confirming activation of the Omega Protocol." Jake felt a weight lift from his shoulders, knowing that humanity was finally preparing to defend itself. "Amy, send our final report to Earth Command. Tell them the Discovery completed its mission and that we are proud to serve." As Confederation interceptors finally caught up with the Discovery, Jake Morrison looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, human ships were already striking back at the enemies who had planned their destruction. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their peaceful nature. It had been their capacity for absolute ruthless violence when their survival was threatened. 6 months after the Discovery's final transmission, Earth had become a fortress world surrounded by the largest military fleet in human history. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance and watched construction crews putting finishing touches on humanity's newest weapon of war. The massive ship stretched for over 2 miles and carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Jake had survived the Confederation's attempt to silence him when a human rescue fleet had arrived just in time to drive off the alien interceptors. Now he commanded the most powerful warship ever built by human hands with a single mission to take the war directly to his enemies' home worlds. "Admiral, the weapon systems are now fully operational," reported Commander Susan Hayes from her tactical station. Susan had been promoted after her successful raids on Confederation supply lines and now served as Jake's chief weapons officer. "All plasma cannons are charged and ready. Nuclear torpedo bays are loaded with planet-killer warheads." Jake nodded as he studied the tactical displays showing his battle group's position at the edge of Confederation space. Behind him followed 50 more warships crewed by humans who had volunteered to fight, even though they knew most would not return home alive. These were not the peaceful explorers and traders that aliens had known for 30 years. These were warriors forged by betrayal and tempered by rage. On Earth, General Alex Turner oversaw the final stages of Project Prometheus from his command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. The massive underground facility had been expanded to coordinate military operations across dozens of star systems. Digital displays showed the locations of human strike forces that were systematically destroying everything the Confederation had built over thousands of years. "General, we have received confirmation that Task Force 7 has eliminated all alien bases in the Vega sector," reported Colonel Karen Wright as she approached Turner's command station. Karen led the Special Operations Division known as the Ghost Corps, whose job was to spread terror among enemy populations. "They left no survivors and scattered the debris as a warning to other systems." Turner studied the strategic map showing human advances across multiple fronts. Red indicators marked Confederation worlds that had been attacked, while blue arrows showed the movement of human fleets toward their next targets. "How many alien military units have we destroyed so far?" "Over 3,000 warships confirmed. Destroyed and approximately 50 million enemy personnel eliminated," Karen replied with satisfaction. "Our forces have also captured or destroyed 237 supply bases and manufacturing centers." The scale of destruction was staggering, but Turner knew it was necessary. The Confederation had planned to exterminate every human in the galaxy, so humanity had no choice but to return the favor. This was not a war for territory or resources, but a struggle for survival that could only end with the complete elimination of one side or the other. Dr. Nathan Cole worked in his expanded laboratory complex studying captured Confederation technology and biology. His research teams had made breakthrough discoveries that were giving human forces decisive advantages in every battle. The aliens had superior numbers and advanced technology, but they had never faced an enemy that adapted and evolved as quickly as humans. "Dr. Cole, the new biological weapons are ready for deployment," announced Dr. Rachel Moore as she entered his main laboratory. Rachel led the team that had weaponized the Confederation's own genetic targeting systems against them. "We have created 12 different variants that can eliminate any known alien species while leaving humans completely unharmed." Nathan smiled coldly as he reviewed the test results. "Excellent work, Rachel. How quickly can we begin mass production?" "The automated factories can produce enough toxins to sterilize 50 worlds within 30 days, Rachel replied. "We also have delivery systems that can contaminate entire star systems through their solar wind and cosmic radiation." Nathan felt a moment of hesitation as he considered the magnitude of what they were planning. These weapons could kill billions of alien civilians who had no direct involvement in the conspiracy against humanity. But then he remembered the images of New Geneva's radioactive ruins, and his doubts disappeared. "Begin full production immediately," Nathan ordered. "If they wanted to play with biological weapons, then we will show them how the game is really played." Admiral Lisa Martinez commanded the intelligence division from her headquarters on Luna, where massive computer networks processed information gathered by human spies throughout the galaxy. Lisa had been Jake Morrison's science officer on the discovery and had witnessed firsthand the evidence of alien treachery. Now she coordinated the systematic betrayal of every species that had supported the Confederation's plans. "Admiral, we have successfully turned the Zilani Republic against the Council of Five," reported intelligence officer Mark Collins as he brought Lisa the latest reports from alien space. "Their leadership now believes the Council was planning to eliminate them next after finishing with humanity." Lisa studied the political analysis on her computer screens. "How many Confederation member species have switched sides?" 47 species have declared neutrality and refused to fight against human forces," Mark replied. 18 others have actually begun providing us with intelligence about Council military positions. They are more afraid of us now than they are of their former allies. The transformation was remarkable. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were now desperately trying to appease the humans they had once planned to exterminate. Fear had replaced arrogance as word spread about humanity's capacity for total warfare. Admiral Jake Morrison led his battle group deeper into Confederation territory, hunting for the heavily defended fortress worlds where the Council of Five maintained their primary military bases. Intelligence reports indicated these ancient aliens had retreated to their most secure systems and were preparing for a final desperate defense. Admiral long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures in the Arcturus system, reported Science Officer Amy Stevens from her station on the Vengeance's bridge. Amy had also survived the Discovery's final mission and now served as Jake's senior science advisor. "It appears the enemy is concentrating their remaining fleet strength at their regional command center." Jake studied the sensor data showing over 1,000 alien warships defending a heavily fortified world. "How does their fleet strength compare to our battle group?" "They outnumber us approximately 20 to 1, Amy replied calmly. "But their ships are designed for controlling occupied territory, not for direct combat against determined opponents. Our vessels have 3 times their firepower and twice their speed." Commander Susan Hayes looked up from her weapons console with an eager expression. "Admiral, request permission to begin the attack immediately. My guns are ready, and the crew is hungry for battle." Jake considered the tactical situation carefully. His 50 ships would be facing impossible odds against an enemy that had ruled space for thousands of years. But human forces had been winning impossible battles for months through superior strategy and absolute ruthlessness. "All ships prepare for assault formation," Jake ordered as he activated the fleet communication system. "Today, we destroy the last major Confederation fleet and open the path to their home worlds. Remember that we fight not just for victory, but for the survival of our entire species." The human battle group accelerated toward the alien fortress while their enemies scrambled to organize defensive positions. Confederation commanders had never faced opponents who attacked without regard for their own survival. Human tactics were based on the assumption that every battle might be their last, so they committed everything to achieving victory. "Admiral, enemy fleet is moving to intercept us," Amy reported as her sensors tracked the approaching alien ships. "They are maintaining standard battle formations and appear to be following established tactical doctrine." Jake smiled grimly as he recognized the aliens' fundamental mistake. They were fighting this battle like all their previous conflicts, with rules and limitations designed to minimize casualties and preserve valuable resources. Humans had no such restrictions when their existence was at stake. "Susan, target their command ships first," Jake ordered. "I want their entire leadership structure eliminated in the opening minutes of battle." "Aye, Admiral," Susan replied as she armed the Vengeance's massive plasma batteries. "All weapons locked on primary targets and ready to fire on your command." The two fleets closed on each other at tremendous speed as space itself seemed to hold its breath before the collision. In the distance, the heavily defended alien world waited behind layers of defensive shields and orbital weapons platforms. But Jake knew that once they broke through the fleet, all those fixed defenses would be helpless against human determination. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," Jake broadcast to his battle group. "Today, We show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens humanity with extinction. Today we prove that we were forged for war. The battle for Arcturus lasted 17 minutes. When the smoke cleared, 1,000 alien warships had been reduced to drifting wreckage, while Admiral Jake Morrison's human fleet remained mostly intact. The Confederation's last major military force had been annihilated by opponents they had once considered barely evolved primitives. "Admiral, all enemy vessels have been destroyed or disabled," reported Commander Susan Hayes from her weapons station aboard the UES Vengeance. "We are detecting no hostile contacts in the system. The fortress world's orbital defenses have surrendered and are requesting mercy." Jake studied the tactical displays showing the complete destruction of forces that had ruled this region of space for over 2,000 years. Burning alien ships tumbled through space while their crews broadcast desperate surrender messages on all frequencies. But humanity was no longer interested in taking prisoners. "Susan, destroy all remaining enemy assets," Jake ordered coldly. "Orbital, stations, defense platforms, and any ship still capable of movement. Leave nothing that could threaten human forces in the future." The systematic destruction continued for hours as human warships methodically eliminated every trace of alien military presence in the system. Jake watched without emotion as installations that had taken centuries to build disappeared in nuclear fire. The Confederation had taught humanity the price of showing mercy to those who planned genocide. On the fortress world below, terrified alien administrators watched their orbital defenses being destroyed from the safety of their underground bunkers. For the first time in their species' history, they faced an enemy that fought without rules or limitations. Human warfare was not about conquest or control, but about the complete elimination of threats. General Alex Turner coordinated the final phase of humanity's war against the Confederation from his command center on Earth. Digital displays showed human forces advancing on dozens of fronts while alien resistance collapsed everywhere. The species that had planned human extinction were now facing their own annihilation at the hands of their intended victims. "General, our biological weapons have been deployed in 47 different star systems," reported Colonel Karen Wright, as she delivered the latest operational reports. "Enemy populations are experiencing massive casualties, and their governments are completely unable to respond. Several species have already suffered total societal breakdown." Turner nodded with grim satisfaction as he reviewed the casualty estimates. Dr. Nathan Cole's biological weapons were proving devastatingly effective against alien physiology. Entire worlds were dying from toxins specifically designed to target non-human genetics while leaving any human visitors completely unharmed. "What is the status of the Council of Five Home Worlds?" Turner asked, as he studied the strategic map showing human advances toward the galaxy's ancient capital systems. "Admiral, Morrison's fleet has broken through their outer defenses and is approaching Primark itself," Karen replied. "Intelligence reports indicate the surviving council members have gathered there for a final stand. They appear to be using their entire remaining population as human shields." Turner felt no sympathy for the ancient aliens who had ruled the galaxy through fear and deception for thousands of years. "Give Admiral Morrison authorization to use whatever force is necessary to eliminate the council. No restrictions, no limitations, and no mercy." Meanwhile, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Vengeance as his fleet approached the most heavily defended world in known space. Primark had been the capital of galactic civilization for over 5 millennia and had never been successfully attacked by any enemy force. Today, that record would be broken by humans seeking justice for attempted genocide. "Admiral, sensors are detecting massive defensive installations throughout the system," reported Science Officer Amy Stevens. "Energy shields, planetary defense cannons, and at least 300 warships still under enemy control. They have also positioned civilian transports between their military assets and our approach vector." Jake studied the tactical situation without hesitation. The Council of Five was trying to use innocent civilians to protect their military forces, hoping that humans would show the same restraint that had limited previous galactic conflicts. They were about to learn that humanity no longer recognized such limitations when fighting for survival. "Susan, prepare the planet killer missiles," Jake ordered. "If they want to hide behind civilians, then we will eliminate everything at once. No exceptions and no survivors." Dr. Nathan Cole monitored the final deployment of his biological weapons from his laboratory complex on Earth. His toxins were now spreading through the atmosphere and water systems of every major confederation world. Within days, entire species that had existed for millions of years would be extinct, leaving only empty planets ready for human colonization. "Doctor, we are receiving surrender offers from over 200 alien governments," reported Dr. Rachel Moore. "They are offering complete submission to human authority in exchange for stopping the biological attacks." Nathan considered the requests carefully before making his decision. "Tell them it is too late for surrender. They had 30 years to treat humanity as equals and chose genocide instead. Now they can experience what they planned for us." The systematic extermination continued as human forces showed no more mercy than their enemies had planned to show them. Species after species fell to weapons designed specifically to target their unique biology. Worlds that had supported the Council's plans for human extinction became graveyards populated only by the dead. Admiral Lisa Martinez coordinated intelligence operations as the last Confederation strongholds fell to human assault forces. Her networks now covered the entire galaxy, providing real-time information about alien military movements and civilian populations. The data showed that organized resistance was collapsing everywhere as fear paralyzed former enemies. "Admiral, we have intercepted communications from the Council of Five on Primarch," reported Intelligence Officer Mark Collins. "They are attempting to negotiate a ceasefire through neutral species representatives." Lisa read the intercepted messages with cold amusement. "What terms are they offering?" "Complete withdrawal from all human territory, immediate cessation of military operations and payment of massive reparations for their crimes," Mark replied. "They are also offering to surrender the individuals responsible for planning the genocide against our species." Lisa smiled without warmth as she considered the desperate alien offers. "Send them our counterproposal. Unconditional surrender of all remaining Confederation forces, followed by the immediate suicide of every Council member. No negotiation, no alternatives, and no mercy." Back at Primarch, Admiral Jake Morrison's fleet had fought through the system's outer defenses and was now in orbit around the ancient capital world. Below them lay the seat of galactic power where the Council of Five had ruled through manipulation, and fear for longer than human civilization had existed. "Admiral, we are receiving a direct communication from the planet's surface," Amy Stevens reported. "It appears to be coming from the Council chambers themselves." Jake activated the main viewer and found himself looking at 5 ancient alien beings who had once seemed like gods to younger species. Now they appeared small and frightened as they faced the consequences of their actions against humanity. "Human Commander," spoke the eldest council member in a voice that shook with fear. "We seek terms for ending this conflict. Surely we can reach an agreement that prevents further bloodshed." Jake stared at the aliens who had planned the extermination of his entire species. "You had your chance for peace when you pretended to welcome humanity into your confederation. Instead, you chose to mark us for genocide. Now you face the consequences of that choice. But surely you do not intend to destroy our entire civilization," another council member pleaded. "We are ancient races with cultures and knowledge that span millions of years. Think of what would be lost forever." Jake felt no sympathy for beings who had shown no concern for human culture when planning their destruction. "You thought of none of that when you decided to exterminate 2 billion humans. Why should we show mercy you never intended to give us?" The council members looked at each other with growing desperation as they realized that human mercy was not something they could count on. What do you want from us? What would satisfy your desire for revenge? Jake considered their question carefully before giving his final answer. I want you to understand what you created when you tried to destroy humanity. You wanted to forge us for one purpose, and you succeeded. That purpose was annihilation. Commander Susan Hayes looked up from her weapons console with anticipation. Admiral, all planet killer missiles are armed and ready for deployment. Shall I commence bombardment? Jake took one last look at the alien leaders who had ruled the galaxy through fear and deception for thousands of years. Soon they would be nothing but radioactive dust drifting in space as a warning to any other species that might threaten humanity. Fire all weapons, Jake ordered. Reduce their world to ash, and let the galaxy know that this is what happens to anyone who threatens human survival.